Hey guys, it's Scott here and thank you for clicking this video. I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought I'd cover my best settings to be using in Apex Legends Season 8, and I will be covering my ALC settings as well and try to explain these for you guys so you can tweak them to your liking. This is something I've spent a long time on tweaking, and it does take a while to get those perfect settings, especially with ALC. But honestly, since adjusting them to what I'm using now, my aim just feels so much nicer, the recoil is so much easier to control, and in general I'm just dropping more kills purely because of my aim, and it's really bringing my stats up, which I'm really trying to do at the minute. As always, if you are interested, I am often live on Twitch pretty much every night, so if you want to check that out, the link is in the description, and also you'll find my Twitter there too if you want to follow me on Twitter as well. I don't post all that much, but you know, I'm still kind of new to the Twitter thing, but if you want to check it out, that's in the description as well. But anyway, without wasting too much time, let's get into the settings and show you guys what I believe are the best settings in Apex Legends. So the first thing I'm going to cover is on the gameplay tab. Now this is all kind of personal preference, but there's a few settings which I would highly recommend you adjust. So the first one for me is the auto weapon cycle on empty. There is so many times I've been caught out because this is turned on and it's automatically switching when I run out of bullets. I'm pressing triangle again, and what that's doing is it's going back to my empty weapon, because obviously it's auto cycling, but then I'm pressing triangle, so it's going back to my empty weapon. So I do turn this off, and if you're like me and it's caught you out a few times, I would highly recommend keeping that off so you can adjust it for yourself. Auto sprint, I never used to actually use this at all, but since turning it on, honestly everything feels so much better, and I kind of did it to save my controller sticks, because you know how easy it is to wear those controllers down, and having auto sprint on does help, and it honestly just feels better to use in general as well. I really enjoy having it on. I'd recommend giving it a go. I was never a fan of this like ever in any game, but honestly since using it I fully agree with it. Like it's a really good setting to have, so I would highly recommend trying it, and if you don't like it, obviously go back. Now the other major one which I would recommend turning off in the gameplay settings is taking damage closes, death box or crafting menu. There is so many times where you'll be trying to get that shield swap off, but someone is shooting you, so it keeps kicking you out of the death box, and the amount of times this has caught me out, I didn't even know there was a setting for this, and I'm really glad that you can turn this off. So I would recommend turning that off so you can get those shield swaps off and you don't get kicked out of the death box while you're taking the shield. Now everything else in this tab is kind of just, I would recommend you just have a play about and see what works for you. The only other thing you might want to try out is the colorblind mode. I do use Tritanopia, which basically just makes my my dots yellow instead of red, and it just makes everything a little easier to see rather than the red. Sometimes the red can blend in certain things, so I really use the yellow, and I really prefer it. It makes the crosshair stand out a little more. Moving on to the controller, so most of this will be through the ALCs, and I'll try to describe them the best I can. Now the survival slot, I do have this turned on. I know some people like doing the weapon inspect with the left D-pad, but I got caught out by not being able to use a heat shield the other day, and it cost me a teammate's life. So I've switched this back on now, because I like being able to use the heat shields, especially in ranked. So I do leave that on. Again, that's just personal preference. Aim on hold, crouch, it's very kind of what you prefer. I just leave it on toggle because I don't like to have to play claw to hit my jump button, like jumping out of a slide the other way. So I leave that on toggle, and then my button layout is just button puncher, which is just what I'm used to. If you prefer it, I would highly recommend you try out the jump and crouch on your L1 R1. I tried it and I just couldn't adjust to it because I've been using this kind of standard for years, like way back in when I was playing Call of Duty and that, so this is just what I'm used to. But I would recommend trying out the ninja or customizing something for yourself and find out what works for you. The L2 R2 button dead zones, I like that to none because I want the input to be straight away. I don't want no delay as soon as I'm pressing that trigger. My movement dead zone is small. and inverted look off. Again, that's just preference. Vibration, a lot of people turn this off, but I just like the feel of the vibration turned on, and it feels weird when I shoot a gun that doesn't vibrate the controller, because it's just what I'm so used to, so I leave that on. Now, there is a little bug at the minute where you can't see your ALCs. I don't know if this is going to get fixed by the time you're watching this, but if you can't see it, just go down to vibration and hit down on your D-pad, and then it's kind of like hidden, and you can get into the custom look controls. So this is kind of what works for me, and the dead zone, now we've got the numbers, it's a little easier for you guys to see as well. The dead zone is 8%. This is just how long it takes to get registered, basically, when you're doing an input. So I like that on 8%. It just works for me. This is something I played about with for a while. My outer threshold is set to 2%, and then my response curve is 0%, which makes it linear. So that's just the equivalent of going to your look dead zone, or your response curve, and changing that to linear, which I can't do right now because I don't want to mess up anything just with the bug at the minute. So that's just the equivalent of changing the response curve to linear. My per optic settings, these are again just something I've played about with that works for me. As you can see here, 1.3 for the 1 and 2 times, 1.2 for the 3 and 4 times, 1.2 for the 6 times, and then the 8 and 10 I barely ever use, but they're there as well at 0.8 and 1.3. Now the yaw speed and the pitch speed. Now I have my yaw, which is just how quickly you're turning left and right. That's maxed out. That just means this way, essentially, and I like that maxed out. But if you do change your dead zone or your response curve, that will affect your speed or how it feels to you. It won't affect necessarily the speed of it, but it will affect like how it feels, because it's based off your response curve and your dead zones. But I max out my pitch speed. I have a lot slower, so that's the up and downs, and I just like that a little bit less. Now, turning extras and turning ramp ups, I like all this off because I want essentially a raw input, and I want it to be linear all the way through, which basically that's doing. There's no funny business going on behind the door. It's just like it's just a linear input essentially. And my ADS, yaw, and pitch is set to 130 and 95. Again, the pitch is a little smaller, but this is again something I've tweaked around with. And if these feel weird to you, I would recommend you try adjusting the yaw and pitch speeds first before adjusting any dead zones or anything like that. But this is what worked for me. And again, that's just the left and right and the up and downs. And then we've got all off because we want that linear kind of feel to the aim as well. Target composition is on, and melee target composition is on as well. My video, now I have played around with the field of view quite a lot. I've gone down to 90, I've gone up to like 94, 96. 110 just works for me. I find it better for controlling the recoil as well. I don't know why, it just seems to work for me. And of course you get maximum field of view as well, so you can see everything around you. So if we set that to the default, which you should never be playing on the default, please don't ever play on the default field of view. That is absolutely horrendous and feels disgusting. And you can't even see like anything in your left and right. So if we can see a bit of the purple barrel stabilizer there. As soon as we put that up to the max field of view, we can see all the attachments. Please never ever play on the standard field of view in any game. You want to maximize what you can see around you, because there could be, like, if you're playing on this, there could be enemies like right on your left and you can't even see them. So yeah, please don't ever play on the smallest, but I'd say between like 95-ish and like 110 would be what I'd be playing around with, but I just like to keep it on 110. And then the sprint view shake, I have that on minimal because we want to reduce that as much as possible so we can spot enemies best we can. Audio is nothing really special, it's just the default there. So those are my settings, guys. I hope this video helped you. I hope you'll try them out, and do let me know in the comments below if you do try them out as well. I'd love to know what you thought of them. Honestly, for me, they've been working really well. I would just highly recommend you give them a go and try them out, and maybe just tweak little things here and there. Like I said, the main ones you should really be tweaking, if they feel a bit much, would be the yaw speeds and the pitch speeds. But basically just having everything else turned down gives you that linear response, and there's no ramping up or anything like that when you're turning. And if you want to, you can have your dead zone at like 0, which will give you a really linear response. So you can see by this curve at the bottom, I should have mentioned, you can see by this curve at the bottom exactly what it's doing, and that would be like max linear response. But I just like mine because it combats stick drift. So if you do have stick drift, I shouldn't do, because I'm on a new PS5 controller. I shouldn't do, but I've got used to playing on this. So you can see in the like stick there as well, it's like registering. That's how much it's kind of like, that blue circle is where it'll start registering your turn. So obviously that would be like as soon as you turn, it's going to start registering, whereas this, there's a little bit of a give. So it just helps combat stick drift if that is an issue for you. So do bear that in mind. If you do have an older controller, you might need to turn your dead zone up a little, but try keep the I would highly recommend you learn to play on linear kind of control, so it gives you that raw input essentially, and every move you're doing is going to be shown in the controller and what happens on screen. So those are my settings, guys. As I said, let me know in the comments below if these do help you out. I would really appreciate it. And if this video did help you out, please do give it a like and check out more Apex content on my channel. But for now, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.